Welcome back to Warehouse and Operations as a Career. Today I'd like to talk a bit about order selection. It's came up a couple of times, and being one of the positions that can help set our course on a career, I'd like to broach the subject and at least look at what it is. Depending on what industry you're looking in, it could be referred to as picking, order selection, order filling, piece pick, another one's bulk pick. I've even heard it referenced as boxing before, and I'm not sure where they came up with that. My name is Marty, and I'll be walking us through a brief introduction to the selection process today. For our purposes, an order selector is responsible for taking a product off of a shelf, maybe off of a pallet or out of a bin, making sure it's the correct product and the correct quantity, then placing it on a pallet, building a complete order of items for a customer. There are a lot of information on the internet, many job descriptions, and probably like 100 different ways or machines to perform the task. Today we'll just try and relate to a broad overview as it relates to us here at WAOC and our experiences. Please leave us any comments as to your experiences in the comments section of our website. We'd all like to learn from each other here. Okay, I've had several questions about that seems to be where the money is, referring to selection, and yes, it generally does pay well. It is usually one of the top paying positions at your facility or warehouse, and there's really a reason for that. Filling a customer's order carries with it a lot of responsibility. The product must be correct, the quantity must be correct, and the product needs to be received undamaged at its end user or the customer. Generally, productivity must be high as there's only so much time to get the product to the customer. In a quick-paced world that we live in today, an order cutoff can be something like, let's say 5 p.m. for the customer to know what he or she's going to need for the next day, and their delivery truck may be dispatched at, let's say around midnight. If we have 200 customers needing 100,000 cases going on 100 different trucks, you can kind of see the need for urgency here. I feel all selection, whether it's like parts for electronics or small parts for machines or maybe even lumber in a lumber yard, to the food service industry, it's a very important task. Actually, order selection, or whatever you'd like to call it, is considered the backbone of the warehouse operation in the logistics world. I feel it has to rank right up there with transportation in the operations arena. Whether you're working off of a pick sheet, which is just a piece of paper telling you what slot to go to, and how many of what item to pull and gather for one customer's order or 20 different customers, or maybe an RF scanning program directing you with a handheld unit that you carry or a unit that you wear on your body, or maybe even directed through a headset on your head. Every customer needs what they ordered in the correct count of each item, and it needs to be undamaged while being stacked and gathered during the selection process. There is many different types of selection, as there are names for it, really. Order selection can mean pulling one customer's order at a time. Batch selection can mean running down every aisle of the warehouse, pulling many customers' orders at the same time and organizing them, separating them on pallets or buggies. Pallet pulling simply means pulling full pallet quantities at a time, generally. And of course, your industrial facility may have several other types of processing for its orders. Let's go back to Jeff Character. Remember our candidate from episode 1 and look at the process he'd be working with. If you remember, he was leaving the restaurant industry at the urging of some food service distribution contacts that he had, the delivery drivers, that used to come to the back door at the restaurants. And we've heard from several others here at WAOC from that industry, so maybe that's a good place for us to start or talk about. Our tools for selection may very well be an electric rider jack, whether it's a single or pulling one pallet at a time, or a double or triple jack, meaning pulling 2 or 3 pallets at a time. Forklifts, that's another piece of equipment we could be using, either a set down or counterbalance lift or a stand up, possibly even a reach lift. And there's several examples of this equipment online, and YouTube's a great resource, and should you have any aspirations of order selections, I'd definitely check them out there. Now remember what we've learned though about 29 CFR 1910.178. To never operate any piece of powered industrial equipment that you've not been trained to do so with or certified to operate. It's against the rules, it's against all the regulations, and honestly, it's just dangerous. Typically, or at least what I see, is a facility's probably going to require a minimum of 1 year of equipment experience and a little history in a productivity setting for those higher paying positions or environments. And it really only makes sense with the cost of training being so high and productivity being a must to accomplish this particular job. As we've discussed before, I really believe that we can trim that year to just several months and get some of the productivity training by knowing some keywords, mixing in a little self-educating research, and learning how to get noticed in a positive way by our managers through our discussions here at WAOC. I mean, the more we already know about GMPs, SOPs, equipment usage, and safety, the less time that we'll need to learn about them, right? Okay, order selection. We'll get our order information from a pick sheet, which is just really a printed document of the orders that needs to be pulled, or maybe a WMS system or warehouse maintenance system or warehouse management system, which may involve an RF handheld unit for us to carry like in our hands, or a unit that we wear, like a wrist-mounted piece with a laser controlled by our finger or a button, or maybe even a headset that will verbally tell us the information, like slots, the item that we're looking for, and some of them we can even speak back to it to confirm that we've selected it or the process has been completed. Other tools will be pallets, of course, either wood, plastic, and there's a lot of plastic pallet manufacturers out there now, or possibly even bins that attach to our equipment. Shrink wrap, we'll probably use shrink wrap to secure our pallets for transportation, wrapping the products so that things don't shift during, the load don't shift during transportation. I feel three of the most important things to remember and learn regarding the selection process are, number one, accuracy. We have to pull the correct item in the proper quantity every time. A couple of things about quantity. You'll learn about case quantity, which is the full amount inside of a case, but we may only need one piece out of the 6 in the case. This is usually referred to as a piece or a split. We have to pull the correct amount each time. Number 2 is stacking. Learning to stack well is a must in this position. Our ability to stack correctly will either make us or break us. Our WMS, it'll help keep our orders together as we travel through the warehouse, selecting for maybe, upwards of 20 customers at a time, telling us which pallet in which zone or area of the pallet to place each box or case. All the while, we have to build a good travel base so that the product or boxes don't keep falling off our pallets, or that we don't crush them, putting heavy items on top of light as we continue to select the products that we need. Number three is productivity. Selection is a productivity-driven task. You have trucks waiting to be loaded with the product that we're pulling. It's got to leave the building to deliver to the customer. Many selection possessions are paid through some type of like activity-based program, or even paid by the case that we pull. It all boils down to the fact that you're going to be expected to select at a certain level, and that others are waiting on the product to finish their task. Most distribution warehouses separate their receiving. Product comes into the warehouse during the day, and shipping with the selection and loading being performed at night. Hence, selection has to be finished with the docks so receiving can begin the deliveries. All the product can be delivered. Sounds like a lot of work and a lot of responsibilities, doesn't it? It is hard work, and there are high expectations of us, and that's why it's one of the jobs that we're really aiming for. It's one of our goals and a needed step in our career path. Order selection is a skilled position. A lot of time and money is spent on our training. The equipment that we'll be utilizing is pretty expensive, and it's really our responsibility to maintain it, take good care of it. It's important that we really get something from all of our training, especially our safety training, and that we follow directions regarding our pre-trip reports. There can be some sign-out sheets for the selection units. Those things are really expensive as well. Also, one of the most important aspects of our new position is attendance. We're in the productivity world now, and our hours are needed to complete the task at hand. I guess you can kind of say we're in the big leagues. Sunday nights and Mondays, or the days coming off of our weekend, it's important a full crew is on time and ready to work. Remember, we want to be that person that's noticed in a positive way by our managers. We want to be the one offered that next step and promotion every time something comes up. Well, that's some of my thoughts on selection in its simplest form, and we'll be visiting with a few order selectors in an upcoming episode. We'll really get the details from a hands-on perspective. I'll reach out, try to speak with maybe a produce order selector or a broadline food service, selector. Please leave us some comments or questions on the website or email us at host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. I'll dig us up some answers and we'll all learn from each other. Thanks for stopping in today, and let's all have a safe and prosperous week. Achieve those personal goals.